Hello everybody and welcome back to the Director of Football Sabotage with Livorno. Now in today's episode we are going to be playing Perugia at home in our final game of Serie A season. I think it's the season 6. Is this our 6th season in charge of Livorno? I can't quite believe it. So we've got some fixtures to review. We'll play that game against Perugia. Then we'll have a little bit of a chat of how I think things have went this season. So after getting absolutely hammered by Inter Milan, we followed that up with the 2-0 away win against Pescara. Skirbeck getting a goal and an own goal in the 46th minute secured a quite straightforward victory. We then had a home tie against Roma where we were fortunate to get away with a 2-2 draw. Well, in some ways fortunate, in some ways not so. We did take the lead through Skirbeck in the 30th minute, and then the 59th minute John Scott decided to get himself sent off and they scored pretty much straight away. Antonucci getting a goal in the 60th minute for them. Skirbeck gave us the lead in the 87th minute. I thought we're going to actually win this with 10 men, but unfortunately Lorenzo Pellegrini scored straight away, straight after the second goal for us. And a draw was probably a fair result, but we could have done with a win. We then went away to Lazio, who are struggling seriously in the league this season. Really poor performance by them, but they still beat us. Skirbeck got us a goal in the 12th minute. He really did hit some form towards the back end of the season. Then he got himself injured, so, you know, that's how it goes. Milik got himself a double in the 38th and 41st minute. Lazio started to dominate beyond that point, but then they got men sent off in the 57th minute, and I threw everything at them. I changed everything, tried to get us working to something, but as you can see by the stats, we did not make our extra man count whatsoever. They did obviously take off an attacking player and they went to a narrow formation with one up front, similar to what we would play if we went down to 10 men, and we just nullified us completely. We then had a home tie against Sassuolo, which you probably would expect us to win at this point, but unfortunately it was only to be a draw. Shibakasa put us in front in the 14th minute. They equalised in the 19th. Then they had a man sent off in the 88th, but not enough time for us to take advantage of, and despite a seemingly dominant performance, still a point's a point. And then finally, in the last game before we play Perugia today, was a 2-0 away victory against Fiorentina. Zach got himself a double. Brian Galvan missed a penalty, but it was a great performance, great result. Champion. And that sees the table looking like this. We are currently in 9th position. We can only drop as far as 10th in today's... Actually, we can't drop as far as 10th. Bologna have already played, so 9th position is where we will finish for this season. Perugia are in 15th. They're safe from relegation. They've got nothing to play for, really, except an extra spot or two in the league. So it is a bit of a game that doesn't really mean much for either side. But I would like to win just to improve our record points tally for Serie A. Unfortunately, because we're at the back end of the season, internationals have started. Zach, Tagliapietra, Madsen and Skirbeck are all off to do whatever they're doing in the internationals. What year is it? 2024. Was that an Olympic year? I'm not sure. But anyway, this is the lineup that we're going to have to go with. Dullo is in goal. Belangioli, Carpanu, his name, Gasparo in defence. Ranocchia, Fernandez, Johnsgaard and Galvan in the diamond. Shibakasa and Longo are going to lead the line. Longo is going to have to play something different because he can't do complete forward to save his life. His name is Tarun Nariga. Tarun Nariga, that's what I'm going with. Perugia come at us with the 4-5-1 defensive formation. Capezzi is always a decent little Italian player if you're ever in the market for a well-rounded centre midfielder. And we kick off with a heavily rotated side. A lot of our players obviously out on internationals, so unfortunately it is a bit of a weakened side, but I would like to get a win at home against Perugia. Highlight now, when Perugia counter us down this right-hand side with Berenguer. He gets the ball in back post and Rabbi is there. Simone Rabbi with his 7th goal of the season for Perugia. And that was a very decisive breakaway, as you'll see here. We were up high up the pitch. We had a lot of men pressing forward, kind of left our 2 centre-backs exposed. Exposed? Ah, yeah, exposed, that's right, isn't it? But yeah, that's the sort of risks you take when you play attack and wing backs. You know, they're always going to be bombing forward, and should you get countered, you're pretty much done. Which is why I like quite pacey centre-backs. And that's it for half-time. Despite our dominance, we go in 1-0 down. It's not the end of the world. I'm not really too fussed. We all know we are finishing 9th no matter what happens. But it would be nice to end on a win. Samuel Longo on a 6.3, proving exactly why he's never in the side. 25 minutes to go. We are going to make some substitutions. Who's not performing the best? Longo's not performing, but I'm actually going to get Anta Koric on. What can you do, Anta? You're going to get us advance forward as well, just to have a go. Ronaldo Vieira is going to come on for Ranocchia. And who else we're going to take off? We're going to leave it at that. We'll save our last sub in case of injury. And that was the second half. A lot of interesting highlights happened, and you missed it all because I just didn't want to record it. And there it is, a disappointing way to end the season, but as we all know, it didn't mean much. We'll go on, we'll have a chat about the squad. So in terms of the final league position, as you knew, we are finishing in 9th position in Serie A. We are a long way off, 21 points off relegation battle, but we are a long way off the Europa League qualification as well. 10, 11 points between us, so we've got a big gap to close if we're to push into that top 6 next season. Obviously, at the start of the season, I did say that top half finish was what I expected from the side, and that's exactly what we've done. But I do think we've actually performed quite poorly throughout the season. As you'll know, our schedule, we are very, very inconsistent. Particularly the second half of the season was just full of inconsistency. Early on in the season, our defeats were the teams you would expect, bar the likes of Chievo and Pescara. And then you can see this little gap here after the January transfer window where we played incredibly poorly. And as you can see, just spotty form throughout the season, really. We never really got any momentum going. Didn't string the wins together, which really boosts the players' morale and confidence. And I think that all comes from just our transfer policy of signing young players. You know, once they start maturing a little bit, we'll start to see a bit more consistency come, even if they're at the same sort of current ability. In terms of the player performances, I'm a little bit disappointed with pretty much everybody. Gasparo had a fantastic season, and I'm releasing him. You know, he's an Italian left-back, right-back. He's been with us since the very beginning. But he's on £24,000 per week, what our director of football negotiated a while ago. And to be honest, I think the wages could be better spent. He's 29 years old. He's never going to improve from now. And despite him performing the best out of pretty much everybody, I don't think that's a particularly great thing. You know, our wing-backs are always the ones that get the highest average rating because I'm asking them to not only defend well, but to get involved in the attack and play up, and I think that really does boost an average rating up. As you can see, Belanzuoli did incredibly well as well, 7.13, say 5 assists and 2 goals in 35 games in Serie A. Jordan Torunariga played quite well coming in from us for Marquesa. Now Marquesa was one of our best performers before he actually left, so he did replace him quite well, and I didn't intend on actually playing him all that much, but Tagle Pietra didn't perform particularly well when he was getting game time, so he ended up slotting in too nicely. So I would be disappointed to lose him in the summer. I imagine he will be available. He's available on a free, actually. No, he's not. I'm lying. But I imagine he will be available for a reasonable fee, but due to him being like 26, I'm not going to bother. Carpanu, our other centre half, obviously the wonder kid. He's performed okay in his debut season at 6.93 over 36 games for a centre half who hasn't scored any goals. Is okay. But as you can see by his stats, he is just rocketing up in ability, which is just fantastic. His natural fitness was 9 when we signed him. It's now up to 11, so he's really improved that aspect of his game, which was one of the key areas where he had to improve if he was to be a fantastic player. And I'm very happy to have him. I don't believe he has any minimum fee release clause. He doesn't, so £19,000 a week. He's probably going to want some more of that in the summer. Fortunately for us, none of our particular wonder kids are actually wanted right now, which is a bit surprising. Probably because nobody's performed particularly well. If any of them had a great season, they'd probably all be after them. But I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Yeah, but Skerbeck, he had an on and off season. He actually performed better than Zach, which I was highly surprised about due to average rating. 12 goals in 32 games, which equals 11 goals in 27 games for in the league, which I guess isn't too bad. But he hasn't really done it for me yet. You know, maybe next season when he improves a bit more, it might be his season, but he's actually probably going to find his game time more limited next season. Maru played okay at left back. Left back's one of the key areas where I want to improve it in the summer. Gasparo's leaving the club. Maru's not good enough to be my first team player, I don't think. And having somebody there who has potential as well is always a key factor. Brian Galvan's been on the transfer list this season as he requested a transfer. Whether he'll leave the club or not, I don't think so, because he removed his transfer request. So unless somebody comes in and offers a decent offer, which my director of football would accept, he will probably still be here next year. Zach, he's away on internationals. He's not actually wanted by anybody right now, which is really surprising. I don't think he's actually improved that much this season in terms of his raw attributes. It seems to be pretty stagnant in terms of his development. 12 goals in 31 games in his debut season in Serie A. I guess is not the end of the world for a 20-year-old, but I do expect a much better season from him next year. Maurice Petras, I've actually really enjoyed. We signed him on a free at the beginning of the season. I wasn't expecting him to get as much game time as he did, but because he was performing so well, and don't be too downbeat on the average rating 6.8, a lot of that was purely because he came on as a substitute and maybe in games where we're getting beat in particular, and then his average rating didn't reflect his true ability, but I did enjoy him when he did play. Andras Dolo's had a decent season, okay season for a goalkeeper at 20 years old. He's improved quite a bit, and I hope to see him more in the future. He's going to be our number one for next season. And Okoric has had an on and off season, particularly with the amount of injuries he has had. He's only played 29 games in Serie A. He probably would have played a lot more if it wasn't for the injuries. If an offer was to come in for him, I would not be disappointed. Filippo Ranocchia, I've been a little bit disappointed by. A 6.83 playing on defensive midfield, I guess, is not that bad. But I thought I was getting a better, more well-rounded player. You know, a lot of the younger players, you would expect them to have teething problems within the first season or two. But Ranocchia, I thought I was signing the finished article. I thought he's the one that I can rely on for performances game in, game out. And whilst he's not played terribly, he hasn't been fantastic. Tagliapietra is obviously, as I said during the summer transfer window last season, one of my most disappointing signs. £3 million is a lot of money to us when we were first starting. So £3 million I don't think was value for money. He's started 9 games, played in 11 in Serie A. He's obviously still got a little bit of potential and he's a decent backup option, I think, but he's not a first team player. Hugo Fernandez, who was signed, has done okay, 6.81. That's not too bad. He hasn't been great. He hasn't developed as much as I thought he would. His teamwork and work rate and his mentals in particular are fantastic. His physicals are a little disappointing and his technicals are okay. We'll see how he gets on next year. It depends who was signed, whether he is a first 11 player. John Scards played terribly this season at 6.74, but you just look at his attributes and you think, why? This is my fault. I'm not getting the best out of him somehow, and that is on me and my tactics to sort of figure that out. He's not going to be dropped. I don't care about his average rating. He's just, his attribute-wise and his potential and current ability is just so good that I kind of need him on the pitch. Alexander Madsen's came on 12 times in Serie A since joining us in January. He has improved a little bit as well. Depending on who was signing in the summer, this guy might find himself going out on loan. And I think that's pretty much it for anyone who I want to speak about. You can imagine Shea Picasso is still wanted. Hopefully somebody comes in. He's on £29,000 per week and valued at 3.4 million. I would take that if they took his wages as well. Ronaldo Vieira, I wouldn't be surprised if he left the club in the summer. Terra Vest hasn't played that much. He could leave in the summer. So yeah, it might be a big turnaround in terms of playing stuff. So we'll have a look at our end of season stuff. Fans Player of the Year did go to Andrea Gasparo, as you would imagine, due to his average rating. Belangioli second and Skirbeck in at third. Brian Gavin, goal of the season, we'll have a look at that. Young Player of the season, Belangioli, and Alexander Madsen, signing of the season for £400,000. I'm not sure I agree with that one. But we'll take a look at the goal. This came against Fiorentina, and it was a free kick from very, very deep. What a fantastic goal that was. Season review, we were expected to struggle and we finished in the top half, which is always fantastic. Hopefully our board see that and give us some money to back us up. We'll do all the team meeting stuff later. Galvan's goal actually got third in the goal of the year, which is good. And the board have set the initial budgets of £17 million in the transfer, 650 grand in the wages. Wages wise, we might be struggling a little bit. I've sort of signed quite a few players that are coming in next season. So we'll see how far I can make this stretch. So overall, I think it's been an okay season. On track, I would say. Not out of this world and not too bad. Just on track. But hopefully next season with some smart signings, we can push on and fight for the Europa League spots. If you have enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like, and if you enjoy my content, get yourself subscribed. But until next time, take it easy.